Hello, my name is Leonhard Müllner, and I'm an artist and media researcher. I'm part of Total Refusal Digital Disarmament Movement, which is a media guerrilla, a pseudo-Marxist artist collective in which we are attempting to appropriate computer games, intervening into video games, putting another story on top of the one we find within this media. The question about how to disappear is this anti-war essay. Is it possible to desert within a video game? Is it possible to do something else in an online shooter game like Battlefield, like the software we used, other than fighting each other? To tell a different story and to make the ideology behind the texture of the algorithm visible.
From the beginning on, when we started working on the project, we were fascinated by the figure of the deserter. Because despite the fact that there have always been deserters in war and that resistance and refusal had a great impact on the way how wars and also societies developed, their history is very unknown, and it was unknown to us as well. So we started a research on military disobedience and its history and compared it to the possibilities, or maybe rather impossibilities, for peaceful behavior in this war game. And in that frame, our peaceful interventions into the game, which somehow may look a bit absurd in the first place, they at the same time reveal maybe the absurdity of the state of war, both in reality and in its digital representations. So basically we asked ourselves, why is it the deserter which is understood as the abnormal, the deviant, and not the obedient soldier?
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm a member of the Total Refusal Collective, and I'm here to talk to you a little bit about the filming process behind How to Disappear. How to Disappear was created in an online shooter game called Battlefield 5. As mentioned in our movie, Battlefield 5 is a competitive game where teams of 32 players face off against each other. Since the game does not provide an isolated space to create movies in, all of the shots that make up How to Disappear were taken in live games, meaning that all of our actors were always in the thick of it with plenty of other players who had no idea what we were doing and who were just trying to go about playing their game as usual. This puts a special emphasis on the role of How to Disappear not only as a film, but as an intervention. The actual filming is done from the perspective of what in Battlefield 5 is called a spectator, someone who is not represented by an avatar in the game and who can move around freely without the physical constraints of an avatar's body. While this allows for a lot of freedom in camera movement, it also brings with it an interesting challenge. To keep spectators from passing hints to regular players, like the locations of opposing players, they are put on a delay of around 40 seconds. This makes coordinating shots extra tricky. Everything the camera films has actually already happened almost a minute ago. All of this combined meant that our actors had to contend both with getting shot at by unsuspecting players and with acting out shots over and over again due to the delayed camera feedback. For every scene you see in the movie, there are probably another 10 takes where half of our actors ended up as digital corpses.
War cannot be played. By definition, a game is played voluntarily, and for most of the participants, there is nothing voluntary about a war in the real world. This is a war game called Battlefield. It is a game that tries to depict war, a game that makes war consumable. However, there is something important missing in the game's depiction. Since the advent of war, there have always been people who refused to fight and who have turned away from the battlefield. Deserters. Desertion is a part of human history, just as much as warfare is. refuse to play a game, you are a spoilsport. If you refuse to fight in war, you are a deserter. But can you actually desert in a game? Take a step beyond the playing field, and the world loses its color. And then...
Soldier, return to the combat area immediately!
Battlefield only consists of a battlefield. Whoever attempts to leave is immediately executed. We do not see who fires this killing shot. It's the software which upholds the rules. And its power is divine. The horizon that surrounds us is just the backdrop for battle. We can never be there. We can only look at it. The landscape appears to be endless, but actually it's a flat and empty backdrop, a stage picture for the shooting. There are no fish swimming in the sea. It's an empty but peaceful illusion. It is a place beyond, a place of longing, a utopia, just as impossible to reach as an end to Battlefield's perpetual war. A place for peace is not inscribed into the algorithm of a war game. But even though there is no way to desert in Battlefield, it might still be a good place to think about disobedience in war and games. Discipline has always been a social question. Disciplining soldiers requires a centralization of power, taking decisions away from the common people. As such, deserting was often a resistance against the dominant social order. In the words of Karl Marx, one could say that the deserter's disobedience is a productive force in society. Like a philosopher produces ideas and a poet produces poems, the deserter produces disobedience in war and consequently a variety of disciplinary, penal and surveillance tools. He changes the way wars are waged and thought about. In the 18th century, all great European powers faced mass desertions of their troops. The so-called plague of desertion was such a rampant issue that opposing parties had to adjust their entire ways of war. Instructions were handed out to never make camp in the vicinity of forests, to never let soldiers stray too far when acquiring resources, to insist on complicated line formations in combat that made it impossible for individuals to slip away. Marches were carried out in daylight, flanked by mounted sentries who had to make sure none of their comrades took the opportunity to vanish into the bushes. It was very common for an ordinary soldier to desert at the first possible moment, to switch sides for additional hand money, or to hide and go home. Nothing else was expected from him. is no war without desertion. And up until today, great efforts are undertaken in order to prevent it from happening. The depiction of war in a video game is quite a different thing. It is war, driven by the player's will to fight. It is war for its own sake. No one asks what it's for and when it'll be over. Battlefield is a multiplayer online shooter. Up to 32 players fight against 32 opponents. And they do that for one reason: to have fun. Refusing to fight in a game and trying to convince your comrades to do the same is an act of absurdity, and getting in their way, obstructing their gameplay, won't be interpreted as pacifistic behavior, but as a joke. In the physical rail world, the threat of punishment was long seen as the only weapon against desertion. The soldier can die. The deserter must die. This was a popular slogan not only in the Third Reich. Punishment was demonstrated for and often executed by the other soldiers. There is no friendly fire in the game. The software does not allow soldiers to be executed by their comrades. The capital punishment is abolished by the law of the code. Disciplinary measures work differently here. Punishment is made obsolete by a narrow scope of action. By limiting their options, players' ambitions are channeled into a competitive drive. Competition replaces penalization. A video game is not only a cultural artifact, it also follows capitalist logics. And as demonstrated by the industry, cookie-cutter narratives that move on familiar grounds and provide simplified motives make for safer investments. In order to be fun to play, war is made convenient and aesthetically consumable. Complex, ambivalent situations and moral uncertainty are primarily avoided. In the game's logic, there is only friend and foe. There is no space for an ambivalent figure like the deserter. In rail wars, one of the strategies employed in order to avoid ambivalent feelings and autonomous thought is the drill. Making human bodies function automatically by forcing them to exercise. endless repetitions of movements, soldiers are to become machines. War is inscribed into the flesh of their bodies. The soldier's body in a video game, the avatar, always obeys. It knows neither hunger, nor fear, nor exhaustion. There might be malfunctions and bugs, yet it essentially is a digital machine, which is programmed to fulfill two functions: to kill and be killed. The body behind the computer is the only one that needs to be drilled. But what if the drill alone is not enough? Military leaders have long sought to mobilize not only their soldiers' bodies, but also their minds. The Napoleonic Wars brought about a change of paradigm in that regard. Fueling soldiers with a patriotic spirit, nationalism was regarded as a new wonder weapon. On the battlefield, not having to fight under constant observation, soldiers driven by an intrinsic will to fight were able to employ more flexible tactics. Due to their success in warfare, the other European forces followed the French model and injected nationalism into their people. Nationalism ignites the people's love of their country and dreams up myths of sacrifice. Back home, waging war was more and more interpreted as a matter of the common people. Yet, in the game, it isn't two peoples facing off against each other. Players from all over the world are randomly allocated to one of two teams, without any means of picking a flag to fight under. For some reason, though, flags are perhaps the only objects in the game which are absolutely indestructible. As nationalism proclaims war to be a matter of the people, the deserter becomes an enemy of the people. He is considered weak, sickly, and cowardly, unmanly, and antisocial. The insufferable everyday life on the front lines collides with an image of masculinity that declares desertion as pathological. In a nationalist society, to desert means to cut all social ties, to possibly never meet family, friends, or comrades again. To some degree, this is still the case today for the US-American deserters in the Iraq War. Thousands of soldiers refused to join the fighting forces and went AWOL, absent without leave. From that moment on, they lived a life in the underground or had to flee the country. Desertion often equates to social suicide. In World War I, mass desertion of German forces brought the conflict to an end and prevented further unnecessary bloodshed. Collectively resisting the officers' commands, who gave order to fight to the last man, was an act of emancipation. In opposing against the aristocratic militaristic system, democratic and pacifistic visions were born. In the game, pacifism is limited by the tools provided to the player. Dropping your weapons simply isn't possible. It's as if the gun is an imminent part of your avatar's body. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't give up and throw your hands into the air. As it would seem, a hammer is the most peaceful instrument your hands can carry. Only the deep water can release you from the grip of your rifle and free up your hands. After World War I, however, the Nazis twisted the pacifist motives and declared deserters, socialists, and Jews as the only reason for defeat. In order to prepare for a total war, their whole people had to be turned into soldiers, and anti-desertion measures were applied to everyone. In their logic, soldiers unwilling to fight were seen as a contamination of the people's body, a sickness that needed to be eradicated. Thousands of alleged deserters were executed. Not participating in the Nazis' rabid war campaign, they could have been seen as heroes. However, even after the war, there were very few people who admitted to having deserted, and it almost took until the 21st century that memorials for the masses of executed deserters were erected. Shame and silence signify the history of desertion. It wasn't until the Vietnam War that masses of deserters raised their voice for the peace movement. Massive acts of civil disobedience within the military not only contributed to the end of a senseless war, but also finally painted a different image of the deserter. Imagine a war game where players decide to desert in massive numbers. It would not be a war game any longer. Desertion cannot be played. And after all, going AWOL, absent without leave, cannot be compared to going AFK, away from keyboard. There is no way to leave the battlefield in Battlefield. Yet, there is a way to disappear.
Greetings, 404, from Buffalo, New York, the city of no illusions. My name is Matt Kenyon, and I was part of the first 404 festival almost 18 years ago, and I am thrilled to be part of the 404 festival again this year. My studio is SWAMP, and it stands for Studies of Work Atmospheres in Mass Production. I focus on critical themes addressing the effects of global corporate operations, mass media and communication, military-industrial complexes, and the general meditations on the space between life and artificial life. I've been making work in this vein since 1999 using a wide range of media, including custom software, electronics, mechanical devices, and sometimes even working with living organisms. 2020 was a difficult year, mostly because of COVID, but it was also an incredibly tragic year for gun violence. And 2021 is even worse. According to the nonprofit research organization, the Gun Violence Archive, over 8,100 people in the United States, that's about 54 people per day, have lost their lives due to gun violence. This epidemic of gun violence is felt most acutely when it impacts children. Shootings on school campuses are increasing, not decreasing, despite investments into surveillance technologies such as metal detectors and aggression tracking algorithms and active shooter lockdown drills. For example, in September at a school in Memphis, Tennessee, a 13-year-old smuggled a gun past metal detectors to shoot one of his classmates in a stairwell. And again, last week, a 6-year-old in Mississippi was accidentally shot by another first grader and had to be airlifted to a nearby hospital. This dark reality led me to make the work Alternative Rule. Although it might look like the kind of paper one would learn penmanship as a child, the lines of Alternative Rule are made up of microprinted text and contain the names and dates of children who have been victims of gun violence. People of all ages are invited to take a sheet of paper and write a letter to members of government in order to advocate for gun control in the United States of America. Alternative Rule is a memorial and a protest tool created for the activists of the next generation, many of whom are already organizing in their own schools and on the national level.
Lockdown, lockdown, let's all hide. Lock the doors and stay inside. Crouch on down, don't make a sound, and don't cry or you'll be found. Lockdown, lockdown, let's all hide. Lock the doors and stay inside. Crouch on down, don't make a sound, and don't cry or you'll be found.
Hola, saludo a todos los que nos están viendo aquí en el Festival 404. Mi nombre es Víctor Orozco y soy el director del cortometraje Rebulicus. Soy mexicano y vivo en Alemania, aproximadamente desde finales del 2002. Y ahora estoy en esta casa. Es una casa bastante vieja, que está bastante también destruida y que por lo mismo era una oportunidad que tenía para poder animar la casa y animar toda esa destrucción. Tenía la intención un poco como de utilizar la casa como una metáfora del mundo y con eso hacer un retrato poético de todos los factores que han generado este proceso de radicalización de extrema derecha, como sería, por ejemplo, el 11 de septiembre, la guerra en Irak, la invasión de Afganistán, la crisis económica, la crisis de refugiados que llegó a Europa. Todos esos factores han generado que en un proceso bastante lento la gente se haya radicalizado bastante, ¿no? Y que se haya generado mucho odio, mucho coraje. Y esto gracias a la utilización de las redes sociales y del internet, ¿no? Bueno, muchas gracias. Hace varios años emigré a Alemania. Vivo en un idílico pueblo que está a las orillas de un río y donde pocas veces pasa algo. Aquí habito una pequeña y vieja casa que necesita urgentemente una modernización y que teóricamente me protege del viento, la lluvia y el frío.
American 11 Boston. American 11, American 11. How do you hear the center?
Starting man at 6740.
Is that American 11 trying to call?
Study. We have some claims. Just stay quiet and you'll be okay. We're turning to the airport. 15 southwest of Bono going to Hampton.
And who's trying to call me here? American 11, are you trying to call?
Ese día, aún vivía en México. En la calle, en una pantalla, vi cómo todo se desmoronaba. A mi alrededor algunos aplaudían y festejaban. Un símbolo caía, pero detrás de ese símbolo se escondía mucho dolor. Para unos fue justicia, para otros venganza, pero para otros una hermosa oportunidad. Vimos de qué estaban hechos los humanos y no vimos que todavía tenemos mucha crueldad por ofrecer.
Today our nation saw evil, the very worst of human nature, the very worst, and we responded with the best of America. With the daring of our rescue workers, with the daring of our rescue for strangers and neighbors caring to give blood and help in any way they could. Immediately following the first attack, our government's emergency response.
Light them all up.
2 traffic, 260.
Come on, fire!
Hey, Roger. Keep shoot. Keep shoot.
Bushmaster 2-6, Bushmaster 2-6. We need to move time now.
All right, we just engaged all 8 individuals.
En directo, y para gozo del público, la acción correctiva se ejecutó a control remoto. Pero detrás de la venganza se escondía el interés. Los apaches en el cielo, animales carroñeros sobre el campo de batalla. El terror alimentando al terror. Círculo vicioso que nutre el miedo. La construcción de la barbarie. La simetría del odio. Las fronteras desaparecieron, pero solo para las finanzas y el mercado. Producto de la creatividad financiera, la especulación derivó de los derivados. Pero cuando las matemáticas controlan el sentimiento del mercado, cuando el algoritmo lo decide y las computadoras hacen la apuesta, los sueños cambian de manos instantáneamente. Y así se fracasa correctamente. Después del castigo viene la redención, pero esta nunca llegó. Los que no tenemos perdimos, y los que tienen ganaron más. Déficit moral. Los olvidados huyen cuando no hay nada más que perder. Y cuando llegaron al pueblo donde vivo, todo cambió. Ahora, los de aquí me miran y se asoman a las profundidades del sur. Pero para algunos, yo soy los cuerpos que arruinan las vacaciones de los turistas. Soy lo que se asienta en el fondo del mar, como el café en una taza. Lo que se pudre dentro de un contenedor. Pero de hecho no lo soy, porque yo soy un privilegiado. Yo no arriesgué todo para emigrar. Para acercarse a las ovejas, los ultras cambian las botas y bomber por corbatas y perlas. Los bots logran que la telerrealidad llegue al poder. Los crispados creen que van a ser reemplazados. Reclaman derechos atávicos, genéticos. Finalmente sus fobias se legitiman democráticamente. Están convencidos que hay que eliminar la materia corrupta. Los dedos apuntan a los otros para distinguir a los nosotros. La reacción, río de fuego, espeso y desbordado. Y así las cosas. Detrás de cada empresa tecnológica, fortunas dilatadas. Detrás del Estado, una casta corrupta. Detrás de cada teclado, un indignado que lucha por las grandes causas. En estos momentos, lo digital rebasó lo análogo y los desequilibrios sociales no se pueden resolver a la misma velocidad. El sistema se ha desconectado de la realidad y nosotros, ensimismados en nuestros gadgets, hundidos en una orgia de narrativas, batalla campal, donde la verdad se extravió. La rabia es el signo de los tiempos. Lentamente se aglutina la masa crítica necesaria. Inercia incontrolable que se puede desatar fácilmente con la ayuda de las redes sociales. Este escenario binario exigirá sacrificios patrióticos, y los que no estemos dispuestos, vamos a necesitar un sitio discreto para guarecernos. Desde hace un tiempo, procuro no salir demasiado. Afuera hace mucho frío. Además, así evito las miradas. Aquí dentro, en esta casa en ruinas, pretendo escapar de este viaje al fin de la noche.
Hello 404, my name is Jason Ferguson. I join you from the United States of America, where I am a media artist and a professor in the School of Art and Design at Eastern Michigan University. For this year's festival, I'd like to present my installation entitled Artifact. It's a project that spawned from the sheltered and repetitive routine of life during the global pandemic over the last year. I hope you enjoy my work. Until next time, be well, stay safe, and take care. This is my first 404 festival, so I thought a brief overview of my background would be appropriate to provide context. I am an absurdist. My work is satirical, phenomenological, and covers a broad range of materials, processes, and delivery methods. Ultimately, I am interested in the poetics and beauty of absurdity. Over the last 20 years, I've developed a collection of projects that use science and technology to investigate modes of being. I've approached this topic in many ways, interrogating my body directly through collaborative medical procedures and corporeal investigation. In other works, I've turned my focus outward and dissected, sometimes quite literally, the objects and spaces with which I interact every day. My project in this year's festival is an example of the latter. It is an archaeological dig into the most intimate of spaces, my family home. I use technology to create a dialogue with the unknown, to bring light to the unseen, to preserve the ephemeral. Artifact consists of a collection of small sculptures that capture the quiet, poetic moments in and around our home during lockdown over the last year. At the height of the pandemic and at the peak of uncertainty, I began noticing inadvertent sculptural compositions around our house, the authentic remnants of being, the residue of activity in an overtly and overly lived-in space. This was unavoidable in our modest home. Gently used towels, lined along the bathroom wall, the honest tossing of blankets on a chair, folded laundry on a wooden bench waiting for our children to put them in their drawers. These are all artifacts of existence. As the weeks went on, I paid closer attention to these subtle, often overlooked arrangements of objects in space. The process became meditative. I began to contemplate the relationship between focus, memory, and loss. The artifacts make manifest the liminal space between moments of activity. The scenes became an illusion of what had happened in the common rooms of our home, a projection of what may potentially occur in the near future. They reference an incomplete memory. The truncated scans highlight the limitations of software and present a ruptured but somehow authentic documentation of the passage of time. Evidence of 4 players coexisting in a shared space for an extended and unknown period. No specified beginning, no projected end. Limitless. The fragmented aesthetic is a dialogue with the photogrammetry process. I begin by photographing the scene and generating a few visualizations of different levels of detail. Once the software establishes what it sees, the dialogue begins. I respond by accepting, rejecting, or enhancing areas with lost information. Areas where the software was unable to read or triangulate points in space. Other times, I will directly manipulate aspects of the scene with intent, either refining areas of detail or lowering the poly count to push recognizable items into abstract geometric forms. The entire scene must have unity. This ambiguity allows the viewer to embrace the tranquility of the scene as a whole, rather than attempt to decipher what marks are the result of computer-driven toolpath versus a scanning error versus computer manipulation versus physical material manipulation post-process. The cryptic compositions are made physical once more using high-resolution MSLA resin 3D printing to further emphasize the scientific, archaeological presentation of the work. This technology allows me to replicate, rather than metaphorically reference, objects and spaces with a high level of precision. I'm a big fan of the writing of Alain Robbe-Grillet, the French new novelist or anti-novelist. I believe what I appreciate most about his work is his ability to embody all aspects surrounding an emotional human experience by writing analytically about everything except the direct experience itself. For example, he would spend pages describing the surface of a desk, the dust that has settled, the rings left by a glass of wine, and every common object on the table's surface in elaborate detail. His attention to the nuances of such a mundane scene elevates the power of something often overlooked. Somehow, there is an incredible feeling of tension present in an encounter that has no action, no players. The tension comes from what had potentially happened in that common space prior, and what may occur in the near future. In a sense, I believe this is what I'm attempting to accomplish with my Artifact series. By embracing the aftermath of activity, the viewer is invited to project their own lives into the tiny vignettes. It is important that the collection reads as one project. Each of the sculptures are effective independently. However, when presented as a collection, they form a gestalt, where the feeling of familiarity, of comfort, of isolation, of loss, of quiet sadness makes itself known in the work.
Hola 404, I'm Scott Hessels in Hong Kong. This past year, I've been working on an art science project in France. The Place de la Victoire is next to an iconic black cathedral, but underneath it are the ruins of a Roman temple dating back 2,000 years. We scanned the plaza with ground-penetrating radar, which transmits sound waves down, and history is revealed in the echo coming through the stone. The first artwork from the project are illusionary portals into this sealed urban memory, reminding us of the loss that is below every victory.
Hello, my name is Natalia Alfutova. I'm a new media artist from Moscow, from Russia, and I'm a co-founder of Masterskaya 15. And of course, I'm really happy to take a part in this festival 404. And I think that art, it cannot be separate from the era when it was made. And now artists, they start to represent the new phenomena in our world, such as cyborg or metaverse or even space with some live maybe. And I think that the festival like this, like 404, is really a good opportunity for the people who really wants to know what is going on around them planet. First of all, I would like to say that Aneroid was born like as a result of really great and successful collaboration. Four really talented people, my close friends, they come together and inspired by my idea. During few months, they did impossible. Nail Salmanov, he is a great engineer, and Alexander Bezruchko, he is a software developer. Amels Gevorkyan, sculptor from Armenia, and Yaroslav Kravtsov, he is my colleague in Masterskaya 15, and he was technical support on this project. And Aneroid, he is a brainchild of our time, of our era. He's a cyborg from, I don't know, from another planet, and he's thinking just inside his limited brain. It reminds us people who use them experience to understand something new. That's why they cannot see something really new. And this project, I think, it gives us the space to think about the world, which is much more complicated than we can imagine with our limited brains.
Hey 404 Festival! My name is Merani Schilcher. I'm a media artist and designer from Berlin, Germany. And thank you so much for inviting me back to participate in this year's edition of the festival. I'm so excited. Thank you. Let me talk just a little bit about my work, yeah? So in my work, I'm always wondering how technology can be used to visualize this whole human experience that we're living through. And by that, I mean that's our emotions, our deepest thoughts and desires, and sometimes even our traumas. And I think with the pandemic and everything awful going on in the world, now more so than ever, we as creatives really have to ask ourselves how to connect to other people. Because technology, or in my opinion at least, technology really is the glue that keeps us connected with others as well as ourselves. And if any of what I just said sounds interesting to you, you should really stay tuned because there's a lot more coming where that came from. I wanted to tell you a little bit about one of my works, specifically Mephista, which is an interactive sculpture, maybe even an interactive installation if you want, that I created in the spring of this year, so 2021. And the main idea behind it was this very human task or action that we go through when we're separating or going through a separation of sorts, either that being a breakup or having awful fights with friends, where we just go through all the pictures that we have of them, either on our phone or our computers, and delete them one after another, like they never meant anything to us. And I wanted to take this very human assignment even and give it to a machine, because you know machines have always automated tasks that humans didn't want to do or couldn't do, and it's debatable if we really want to delete these pictures or what the intention behind it is. Either way, I wanted to hand it off to a machine. So I created this machine that scours pictures of couples from the web, Instagram specifically. So it just goes through all these pictures that have the hashtag or that carry the hashtag couple. It looks at the picture with that hashtag, checks if there are 2 people in that picture. If there's less than 2 people or if it's more than 2 people, it just ignores those pictures, goes on to the next one, checks it again if it's 2 people, and if it is 2 people, it prints that picture. And then there's a pair of automated scissors that just cut right through the middle of them. So yeah, you end up with these 2 long rolls of cut through paper, where you have one half being one part of the couple and the other half being the other part. Yeah, and that is Mephista for you. Hi there, it's Merani again. So, now I want to tell you a little bit about my solo exhibition that I had in April of this year, called Make Me a Weapon. So, the main idea behind this exhibition was that it needed to be experienced from the outside, because in April the lockdown was still very much going on in Germany. All the venues were closed, restaurants were closed, everyone was still inside. So, what can you do as an artist? Especially when, like me, you like to do interactive works as well. So I in short, I erected this object in a space that could be controlled from the outside. It's this ram, powerful looking ram, that is hooked to the walls on 4 sides, and then, or 5 sides if you're precise, and the 5th side is on the back where a motor is attached to it that can pull the ram towards its own direction and then let loose once the person interacting with it wishes to do so. And the way this interaction works is there's a QR code attached to the window outside that everyone can log into. So it's just a web page that opens this site with a button, one single button. That's all you can see on this website that says push me. So whenever you push this button, or depending on how long you push this button, the ram gets pulled to the back. And once you release the button, the ram gets released and is speeding towards you. And the main idea behind this ram was to have an object in a space that wants to destroy the very space that it's located in. And it comes from this unhappiness with the current state of the art world, because in the past 30, 40 years, the direction that the art world was moving was that in which art gets sold for being pretty or easily digestible, art that looks good over a couch and that can be easily placed in any environment. And when you're doing critical art, or art that tries to take on new shapes and forms, just art that's maybe a little bit more unconventional, that's more or less a death sentence. And by selling only this easily digestible art, the amount or just the general air that gets created by this is not very fruitful for art in the future, if that makes any sense. So this work really is, or this installation is, an attack on art dealers and collectors who manipulate modern art for profit, commodify art rather than supporting artists and really pushing art that might potentially be able to change things that are not going in the right direction in this world. So yeah, you have this object that means to destroy the very context and space it's located in, while of course still utilizing the benefits of that location itself. Yeah, so I rambled for a little bit. I hope it's still pretty clear what I wanted to say. It's an object of destruction called Make Me a Weapon. It's interactive. I would tell you to feel free to interact with it, but unfortunately this is an online exhibition. So I hope you at least enjoy the video and yeah, enjoy the rest of the show.
my name is Yoon Chung Han. I'm based in San Francisco Bay Area in the United States. Thank you for having me Photo 4 Festival 2021. And it is my great pleasure to be able to show my work, Rose in You. Regarding my thoughts about art and technology, I believe art and technology are in a symbiotic relationship. It supports development each other and grow each other. When artists have ideas and creative thoughts, technology try to make it happen. And when technology is developed, it needs to be used for many people. And artists bring up some new ideas to utilize the new technology in many interesting ways. So I believe the seamless collaboration between art and technology will make powerful and then meaningful and perfect artwork. So there should be no distinctive boundary between the two different fields, in my opinion. And well-balanced collaboration and the symbiosis between art and technology will make magical experience for the audience to deliver meaningful experience and then spark to open up discussions about the message of the artwork. Yeah, that's my thoughts. Thank you again for having me, and I hope everyone have a wonderful time at this festival. Bye. Hello, my name is Yoon Chung Han. I'm assistant professor at San Jose State University. Today, I'm going to talk about my work, Rose in You, Matching and Visualizing Veins, and Rose in 3D. Rose in You is an interactive biometric data art and physical 3D data visualization by using a vein matching process to roads. In this artwork, participants scan their veins, capture the axially formed vein lines, observe existing roads in the earth that match to the veins inside of their bodies. The surprising results discovered through this process are visualized in both interactive 3D map visualization and then 3D printed sculptures as a personal souvenirs as a part of the artistic experience. Unique aspects such as artistic expression and the situated metaphors in this artwork invite audiences to experience a unique matching process and discover newly meaningful roles for them. Enhanced 3D visualization and the physical data sculptures are the new additions to this updated version. This data-driven artwork aims to find an interesting correlation between biometric data and the map-based data in terms of research questions. Human vein is one of the biometric data that has been commonly used for various identification devices due to its unique patterns and contactless input data. Veins are beautifully complicated forms hidden under skins. It includes many intersections of the roads that resemble the streets and paths surrounding us. The geometric shape and the topological structure of the vein pattern resemble the roads and streets in the world. Unlike the constantly changeable roads by the human's impact, the lines, bifurcations, and patterns of the human vein stay the same for the entire life that can be considered as a biometric trait. What if there are roads that match your veins in the world? This was my initial question that started the whole research and investigation through this art form. So this artwork explores how the line segmentation and the structure of the veins can be compared to the existing roads in the real world. From an artist's perspective, this project can also suggest an exciting artistic platform where spectators create surprising results and the narratives. So the biometric data becomes input data for the storytelling. So in this work, similarities and differences between two different data, vein data and then roads, are explored, and which has never been attempted in previous artistic practices or scientific research, although there are cases of relevant scientific research using palm or vein lines. Rose in You consists two parts, interactive data visualization and the physical 3D data sculptures. First of all, participants can first scan their veins in the interactive application. They can capture veins in any part of their bodies by using the customized infrared camera. For the best result, veins on the wrist have been recommended since it's clear, unique, and easily achieved. And captured veins are analyzed through image processing techniques to extract unique vein lines. So various computer vision and the image process techniques were used for the line detection process. The finally pulled lines are sent to the matching process with the pre-saved map images on the computer. And matching process includes analysis and matching algorithms to detect the best matching rows in the map data. Users can choose the locations where they want to search their roads, such as cities or countries they want to explore. Otherwise, the road data range is open to anywhere on the Earth, and the best matching roads are highlighted and visualized. On the screen shown here, users can see two colored lines on the right side. So green lines represent their vein lines, and the red lines represent the matched roads. So green lines are above the red road lines to support the understanding of the relationship between those two data. And as you can see on the left side, there's the original row, the vein line image, and then there's extracted rows data from the row map data platform on the right, the bottom side. Looped animations on the roads mimic the blood circulation in the veins and the liveness in the earth and the urban areas. Users can drag to see the map from different angles or zoom in and out to see the roads further or closer. The captured original vein image and extracted skeletonized lines appear at the left bottom corner of the interface. The address of the selected location appears at the center of the screen. The name of the city, longitude, and latitude appear at the right bottom corner of the screen. So users can click the try again button to restart or click archive to observe other outcomes from other users. So as you can see here, the installation consists of several parts. A live and interactive application is the main component of this artwork, where users can scan their vein data with a customized infrared camera. 3D print sculptures in the customized picture frames are installed next to the interactive installation. An extra display is next to the sculptures to show the archive website for other participants. The personalized experience is one of the significant aspects of this artwork. As a participant input their vein data as art materials for this installation, they acquire the final outcome as a part of the experience and then keep them as a personalized souvenirs. So 3D printed sculptures are good ways to document the final result. Furthermore, it shows the matching result with the detailed information about the location and the road data. So in the pre-installation, 3D printed sculptures were arranged on the top of the map print to show the road data and the vein data simultaneously, as shown in these images. So, and then there were two color choices, red and black. So in conclusion, this artwork, the vein data becomes a fascinating art form that reveals beautifully integrated roads and paths underneath the skin that are invisible to the naked eye. The roads and paths are recreated and they're added on top of the cities, regions, and the areas surrounded us. This work aims to propose a new way of visualizing the correlation between the individuals and environments using vein recognition techniques and image processing. This project also has a potential to lead the way in the interpretation of complicated data sets while providing aesthetically beautiful and mesmerizing visualizations. Furthermore, this work could address environmental issues and question the difference between naturally generated data in human bodies and artificially created data in our world.
Greetings from Berlin. My name is Dave Lujek. I'm the filmmaker and producer of many, many works. Among them is Cabaret Freeze, and we are very happy that 404 Festival has chosen to present our work again. Second year in a row. I'm very happy. About the work, it's an experiment with Steadicam operator and lots of volunteers that we grabbed in a film workshop in Hamburg and asked them just to freeze in a scene that we installed in public spaces that we found available in front of the house, more or less, and in nature, very far away from the actual location, where I went with another film team to shoot another movie. It's called Paradise Beach, and it's been touring also more than 50 festivals now. So this stuff that has a lot of vibrance and energy in the making sometimes inspires festival audiences worldwide to present this to their audiences. Yeah, so very happy. 404 technology, art, yes. We use just a DSLR camera, 5D I believe, and a Steadicam rig. And yes, you see me in the picture a few times, and some of the parts are made by the co-director and cinematographer, Maxime Millon from Hamburg. So it's a collaboration with many artists, of course, that you see in the picture. And there's not a lot of editing, actually, just like easy cuts. And the scenes that we will leave them open for interpretation for yourself. We hope you enjoy all the other works presented in 404 Festival. Maybe in the future we will see each other in real life, in the physical world. After the pandemic, who knows? We believe it's going to be over at one point. Now it's the second year. We are a bit suffering from the lockdowns and culture restrictions that we are experiencing here in Germany, but it's much worse elsewhere. So there's a positive ending in sight somewhere very far away, we hope. We are getting vaccinated, so I hope you are going to be happy and safe too, and make more art. See you next time. Dave from Berlin, Apeiron Films.
In Hamburg today, Kino Cabaret in full sway, shooting films without pay. No sleep, no stress, no one needs to be the best. Cut. End of film.
Hello, my name is Lily Mian. I'm from Moscow.
And my name is Katerina Sadovsky. In our project, we explore questions of the future, ecology, the relationship between humans and nature, and the possibility of human interaction and connection with other forms of existence. What would happen if we, as a species, had a new body created in interaction with new technologies, material, bacteria? What will be eternal and what will remain the same people?
We are concerned with the question what will happen to the emotion of new human. The post-human, the cyborg, will be able to refuse to reproduce ourselves. With the rise of medicine and biotechnology, our emotional development is frozen in the capsule of our ancestors. Today we are still hunters and gatherers. The artists critically analyze these questions, uncomfortably inviting nature the digital images on polymer materials. Comparing this art getche to humanity's relationship to non-human agents and the biosphere as a whole. We created our project using with the help of CGI graphics and 3D. The characters in the video are equipped with special implants and additional organ system that allow them to survive in today's world where many ecological disasters happened. Powerful CO2 emissions into the atmosphere have led to global warming. Viruses have destroyed the normal biological body and it has to adapt to modern conditions. 3D organs move and pulsate with the human body, responding to its emotional and physical state.
The characters in the video no longer speak ordinary human language. Their bodies have evolved, so have their speech organs. We worked in collaborating with sound artists and create a sound that speak to us is in the video. It's noise, robotic language, ultrasound. They are worried about the same question. Post-human rights, can anyone dispose of their own death? If it is possible not to die anymore, love, responsibility, the possibility of reproduction and transmission of genes. If there is no more male and female gender and children can be conceived, carried and born outside the body.
Hi 404, this is Connor McKinnon from Canada. I'm currently a graduate student at the University of Victoria. The work that I'm presenting as part of the festival is titled Algorithmic Tools. In particular, it explores the idea, or I guess the potential idea of an object's evolution, but more in general aims to analyze how objects have become the way that they are. Previously, my practice has been very dedicated to the studio and the workshop, making a mess, getting dusty. With the pandemic coming early 2020, that majorly interrupted my normal practice in a really exciting way, with technology filling that void. It's now come to balance its way into kind of computer-aided design, along with computer-aided manufacturing, which this work kind of falls within, and with a major focus on 3D modeling, which I'll explain a little bit more. I'm really looking forward to seeing all the other artists' contribution for the festival, and I hope you enjoy my work. Algorithmic Tools is the result of a digital system developed using algorithmic or parametric-based 3D modeling. This technology is often used in architecture, but it's used in other 3D modeling industries as well, particularly when variation and control of that variation is a priority. In this case, the algorithm is designed to construct a series of unreal tools by passing information through different input parameters, such as the location or orientation of drill chucks, batteries, switches, and triggers. the parameters come together in combination with a form of generational variation to construct the 3D models of the tool bodies, which are then 3D printed, finished by hand, in addition to a number of found objects such as those drill chucks or cables to finish them. So conceptually, as mentioned, this work is about exploring the idea of an object's evolution, in particular kind of outside of a human-centered design, or the requirements of human-centered design, and in part takes inspiration from forms of speculative or science fiction evolution, kind of as presented by Donna Haraway's Staying with the Trouble or Stanislaw Lem's The Invincible. Throughout this process and projects kind of like this one, I've been growing kind of an interest or developing an interest in the bias that is written into systems. In this case, the system that I've created is very particular for a very particular purpose, and with my interests totally in mind, kind of as that kind of artist's control, but also kind of the bias that's written into the technology that we use kind of every day. So here's a few more details on how this algorithm was developed and kind of how this system works together to build these artworks. So the technology that we use to create these algorithms and create these models is called Rhinoceros, Rhino 3D, and it's kind of a vector-based 3D modeling program, so it's all kind of based in math, so a little bit different than some other 3D modeling programs. And then within it, there's also kind of a plugin type of thing called Grasshopper, which is all of this this parametric or algorithmic 3D modeling, and it's all kind of node-based. So instead of coding it in kind of a programming language, these are kind of these little nodes pass information through them and kind of affect change in the model. So kind of here you can see kind of this is where the data is inherited from other systems over here, and goes from left to right. Information is passed left to right through here over to kind of this, in this case, the final tool body geometry here, or kind of the newly oriented batteries or tool chucks, switches, triggers, things like that. And so I'll just kind of go through it a little bit step by step. I'm giving a few examples. So here again is the data inheritance. So here it's, this is the battery geometry. In this case, it's starting right in the middle before it's moved into position. And then it moves through kind of each of these nodes, kind of doing something different. Up here, we have kind of the randomization. While the data is inherited from models previous to them, so there's a bit of kind of generational variation and generational input into the next one. A lot of it is controlled through randomization. Here, this is kind of one of the seeds that controls a lot of the different factors. As you can see, as I move the slider, the model changes quite dramatically into kind of different forms. So that randomization kind of affects change in many of these different little functions. But you can see here in this case, this function in particular locates and orients one of the switches. So we can see this is kind of the final piece of that function. So let's preview it. So that's the big switch on top in this, kind of wonky looking drill. So that piece of geometry is passed through. It defines kind of the edge of the geometry to start, for that information to be used for the construction of the body of the tool. So you can kind of see here with these edges, it's been inherited from different functions, and you can kind of preview. This is some of the different edges that are being used to construct this model. We have different things here. So these, in part, define the form or the kind of the profile of this tool based on information of where these different parts are oriented. So if I turn those on, you can see they kind of control these profiles here. There's other profiles up here which control other parts of it. Well, those are just the points of them. But here we are. yeah, and there's some more of them. As you can kind of see, this one kind of goes in a strange way. It does kind of look like a mess when you kind of zoom out like this, but as I'm building it, it's much more intuitive, with one piece of information being kind of seamlessly translated into the next form that I need it. And then this is the kind of the final step here, where the body of the tool is actually being constructed, and again with this final piece. Showing the kind of the full form. And then, you know, one final step in this is kind of my selection. As the artist, I have that kind of control to be able to go through and say, you know, I don't like this form. You know, some of the battery is showing, as this is not kind of the perfect algorithm. I can go in and kind of cull this model out of the selection. So the ones that I've decided on to print are, again, it's just another level of my bias in controlling this kind of whole system. So that's my work. I hope you enjoy it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival.
Greeting to 404 Festival. We are the French couple of artists Xenocosme, Grégory Lasserre and Anaïs Meddenangst.
Our interactive artwork Distances virtually brings together people who are not able to touch themselves physically. This artwork was born in April 2020 in response to the coronavirus crisis that had forced us to be isolated and to have physical distances from the others.
In this installation, two persons in two separate physical spaces are filmed in real time by two devices. They are invited to have contact virtually within the same image, bringing them together face to face. The head-to-head proposed by the software of the artwork is trying to reduce the proximity distance between the two persons. The images of their faces, their hands, are attracted and created unique ephemeral meetings with the other.
This artwork is participatory in its creative process for the two visitors interacting at the same time. This staging is constantly renewed for the other groups of observer visitors who are in the exhibition space. In this creation, we generate reactions and gestures from the spectators in response to virtual contacts. This contact gives to the viewer strange and real feelings. He can enjoy the limits of this new kind of contact.
Tu rentres dans moi là, ça te va pas. Ouais, mais en fait, on n'est pas en face, on peut se faire panique. Pour de vrai. Viens, viens, je m'en fous, viens.
Hello everyone, my name is Heyeona.
And I'm Brendan Harmon.
We are an artist studio who made Contingent Dreams together.
Contingent Dreams is a series of collaborative drawings with a robot.
Machines are everywhere. They are working for us, listening to us, and sometimes even spying on us. With the isolation of the pandemic, as people try to reconnect, machines are becoming more deeply embedded in our everyday life than ever before. As algorithms, machine learning, and computer vision systems developed, machines are getting smart enough to see things, understand logic, and predict situations. With increasing automation, more and more people are concerned about machines taking their jobs. As people speculate on the future of technology, their visions tend to be grim and dystopian. Sinister depictions of androids and AI abound in popular culture. Through Contingent Dreams, we ask questions about our fundamental relationship with machines. Are they simply tools, or do they have agency? Are they servants or peers? Collaborators or competitors? Friends or enemies?
In Contingent Dreams, the robot and the artist collaboratively create abstract drawings in ink. The media and mode of performance inspire feelings of longing and acceptance, of control and freedom, of isolation and belonging. In this series of works, the robot is a key part of both the process and outcome. The artist and the robot influence each other. These works are not meant to define our relationship with machines, but rather to open it so that everyone can interact with machines in their own way.
Hello, 404. My name is Jeff Rufus Bird. I'm a performance and video artist living in the United States. I'm really excited about being included in this year's festival. Thank you for picking my work, and thank you all for watching. My relationship with technology has always been pretty complicated, but over the past 18 months, it's gotten even more complicated. I was very lucky. Because of the work that I do, I was able to keep on working even though I wasn't leaving home very much. Technology allowed me to stay in contact with other people. But experiencing everything through a screen has been a real challenge. It's a very limited experience. There is a lack of variety in what you actually experience. I called it sensory monotony. The visuals can be overstimulating. There is a lot to see. But for most of your other senses, they get almost nothing. There's no real texture. There's no wind, no surprise sense. And physically, I spent a lot of time just sitting there, and that made me pretty anxious. And I got really tired of seeing my face on the screen during Zoom meetings. On the screen during Zoom meetings. On the screen during Zoom meetings. I realized it was necessary for me to spend time away from screens. I started walking the dog at least 3 times a day, encountering all kinds of sensory experiences, and something I had never done before. I started planting flowers. I still believe that technology has opened my world in many significant ways. But now, I can say that getting away from technology has also opened my world in many significant ways. Hello, I'm Jeff Rufus Bird, and I'm from the United States. My art is about using fake things to explore reality. I create live performances as well as videos and social media projects that use avatars or personas to explore gender, identity, and different notions of power and control. The piece that you are about to see is a recreation of my 2017 stroke in the form of a live stream video game. The stroke happened as I was working alone in my office. In the game, you will see me performing various mundane tasks that I did as part of my job as a university administrator, and a job that I quit about a month ago. This piece relates to a recent series that it presents the business suit as an absurd symbol of unwarranted power and unearned respect. This is my first collaboration with Deck, who is my bro-dude alter ego. Deck was created in response to all that boring adult stuff that was so much a part of my job. Deck started streaming games during the pandemic, so this piece came together rather smoothly. Special thank yous to Corbett Fogg for his work with the editing and sound effects, and to my husband, Wayne Twitchell, for his fantastic camera work.
Hey everyone, welcome back to my Twitch channel. If this is your first time joining, thank you. And don't forget to smash that follow button so you can get notifications when I'm online playing. Today I'm coming back to a game that I started back before I started streaming. It was quite a while ago. I don't really remember where I left off, but I'm sure it'll come back to me. It's an indie game. It's called Stroke. For those of you who've been following me for a while, you know I love playing those battle royale and first-person shooter games. So the more active, the better. Well, this game, it's not as intense as the name Stroke kind of leads it to be. It's a bit more mundane. If I remember correctly, it's an office work emulator. So I wouldn't really expect too much action today. So thanks for coming along. And thanks for hanging out with me. And I'm going to go step into the mind of a white, middle-aged, bald office worker. All right, let's get this figured out here. All right, here we go. Okay, yeah, I'm in the office. So let's just go ahead and go forward. Make my way back to my desk. Oh, gee, is it glitching? This isn't that intensive of a game. Again. Yeah, let's sit down and get to work. Let's see, we got a wallet, an apple, keys, got a pencil, candy bar, and my phone. Let's get the phone out and delete some emails. So I got my health bar up top, my drink meter off to the left, and my task complete. Alright, so my orange bar just moved up for me, so let's do another one. Just gonna get my old highlighter out here and color in some, what are those numbers? Some poundage. Looks like it's for clay. Yeah. Might be an expense report or something. Do some more highlighting. This is important work that needs to be done, folks. Highlight, highlight, highlight. Whoever's getting this paper is not gonna miss what I want them to look at here. Got it nice and highlighted. All right, finished. Sweet. Let's do another one. It's in the green folder. Some kind of chart. Gonna write some notes here. No idea what I'm writing. Must be important though. Something about info. What is this? Can't even tell, just gibberish. Make a note there. Turn the page. Man, I have terrible handwriting. Sharpen my pencil. And yes, turn page. Provide more info. Apparently I need more information, whoever this is going to. Should probably staple it together. Here we go. Click. And task complete. Man, I'm gonna get a promotion soon. Alright, it's my thirst meter is getting low. Need to go find a drink somewhere. I think there's a break room over here. Alright, make my way in here. And open refrigerator. So you've got some old moldy lunch and a pop. I'm gonna go with the pop. For those of you who aren't Midwestern, pop is what we call soda, or soda pop. Alright, move back to my office and get some more work done. Let's drink that first though. Isn't this so much more fun than shooting people and I guess just shoot people. That's all you do in those other games. Oh, not thirsty anymore. Filled out that meter there. Alright, more work. What do we got? More numbers. No idea what to do with this. University of Northern... I must work at a university. If I work at a university and have an office like this, it must be pretty high up. Return to key shop. That's important. Oh, gotta get the stamp out. Yep. Task complete. Man, we're just flying through this. Alright, let's go check out the room. Got some paintings on the wall. Might be in an art department. And we got books. We got Dada and... Yeah, this must be oh my god, look at the book. It's not even the same book that I picked up. That's funny. This is janky as shit. Alright, let's open this up. It looks like it's an art book. I might be working in an art office or something. Oh yeah. Definitely some kind of design or art book. Lots of drawings. I wonder if Picasso's in here. I get to see some booby drawings. Oh, there's a butt. Sculpture. Click. New page, click, new page. Click, click, click. Alright. This is a long book. I'm surprised how in-depth this is. It allows me to see this many pages. Oh. Oh, sorry, my phone's going off. I need to get this text. Hold on a second, guys. Okay. Alright, thanks for waiting, guys. And girls. Whoever's watching. Flip through a couple more of these pages. Or all the pages. I love reading books back to front. It's, you know, you get the ending first. You don't have to go through all the random crap at the beginning. This is more of a picture book, though. Huh. I wonder if this book exists in real life. Alright, completed a task. Sweet. What is happening? Like, I'm not really controlling my character right now. And I'm almost out of health. What is happening? I better call for help. It looks like I'm getting dizzy. Alright, let's call whoever we call here. 911 maybe, should be easy enough. Nope. Oh, nope, drop the phone. Let's see if we can pick that up again. Yep, there we go. Let's try that out. Hello? Anybody on the line? Nope, dropping it again. One more time. What is happening? I am not in control here. I'm gonna stand up and just kind of see what happens. Wow, that sucked. Wow. Okay, I guess that was the game. I finished it, I guess. Alright. Thanks for watching, you guys. Go ahead and don't forget to hit that follow button, and you'll get a notification when next game I'm playing, so... Alright, thanks for watching, you guys. See ya.
Hola, mi nombre es Leo Huejara, soy de Rosario, Argentina, soy hijo de inmigrantes japoneses y actualmente vivo y trabajo en San Pablo, en Brasil, hace más de 10 años ya. Primero quería agradecer al Festival 404 y a Gina Valenti, su directora, por darme la oportunidad de ser parte del festival de este año. Bueno, yo soy artista visual, también trabajo con diseño gráfico, motion graphics o animación y dirección de arte. para publicidad, cine y también, bueno, paralelamente tengo algunos proyectos autorales, entonces en el área del arte también. Bueno, creo que la tecnología en estos duros momentos ha sido clave para estar un poco más cerca de los seres queridos, de los amigos, si bien no reemplaza para nada el contacto humano, un abrazo. Sin embargo, es notorio que sí nos acerca un poco más y eso ha sido muy bueno, me parece, ¿no? La tecnología aplicada a las artes, yo creo que hoy en día es mucho más fácil que una persona pueda expresarse a través de la tecnología, ¿no? Claro que son necesarios algunas habilidades básicas para poder hacer arte, ¿no? Pero las herramientas de hoy en día son más accesibles y más democráticas para todo el mundo. Pero considero que no son más que eso, más que herramientas para canalizar un concepto o una idea o un sentimiento o lo que sea que el artista quiera comunicar. Sin la idea del artista, sin un concepto por detrás de una obra, no deja de ser algo vacío, ¿no? La tecnología, entonces, para mí, es simplemente una herramienta que facilita el trabajo del artista. Este año voy a presentar un trabajo llamado Sur Utópico que realizamos junto a un amigo y músico llamado Frankie Walker. Con él, al principio de la pandemia, comenzamos a dialogar sobre cuál concepto tendría este video que íbamos a producir y casualmente ambos tenemos hijos chiquitos y la pandemia ha forzado a que los chicos se queden en casa, entonces pasar más tiempo con ellos y en definitiva estar tan cerca de la niñez hace que uno mire a su propia infancia también. Comenzamos a ver un poco nuestro tiempo, a recordar momentos de nuestra infancia y decidimos de alguna forma plasmar eso en un video porque consideramos de que ese tiempo perdido ya ha tenido un gran peso y una marca muy fuerte sobre quiénes somos hoy. Entonces de esa forma surgió este video llamado Sur Utópico. Espero que lo disfruten.
Por que raios a gente tem que partir? Por tarde